Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. Psalm 112, 3. This single verse from the book of Psalms carries a weight that many overlook. It does not say wealth comes by chance, nor does it say riches belong to the reckless. It declares that wealth and riches dwell in the house of the righteous. This means prosperity is not merely something you pursue. It is something that begins to settle around your life when righteousness, alignment, and obedience are in place. According to Psalm 112, riches are not a sudden accident. They are a result of a life ordered by God. When this verse begins to resonate deeply with your spirit, it is often because your life is entering a season where God is preparing your house, your mind, your habits, your work, and your decisions for increase. One of the first signs you are becoming rich, according to the book of Psalms, is that your priorities begin to change. Psalm 112 speaks of righteousness enduring forever, showing that wealth that comes from God is connected to character before currency. You begin valuing wisdom over impulse, patience over shortcuts, and discipline over instant gratification. This shift is subtle but powerful. You may notice you no longer rush into decisions, no longer envy the success of others, and no longer feel pressured to prove yourself. This internal realignment is a divine signal that God is building something stable, not something temporary. The Psalms reveal that prosperity follows order. Psalm 37 teaches that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. When wealth is approaching, confusion begins to lift. You start making clearer decisions about work, finances, and relationships. Doors begin opening that match your values, not just your desires. Even opportunities you once chased begin to come to you instead. This is not coincidence. It is divine orchestration. God does not release wealth into chaos. He releases it into structure, and the Psalms show that structure begins in the heart. Another sign described through the Psalms is peace replacing anxiety. Psalm 23 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." When prosperity is drawing near, fear of lack starts losing its grip. You may still have responsibilities, bills, and goals, but the panic is gone. There is a quiet confidence that provision will come at the right time. This peace is not ignorance, it is trust. And according to the Psalms, trust is one of the strongest indicators that God is preparing you for abundance, because fear and stewardship cannot coexist. Pause here and reflect deeply. If peace has replaced panic, if clarity has replaced confusion, if discipline has replaced chaos, and if provision keeps appearing at the right time, then the Psalms are speaking directly to your life. These are not small signs. These are divine indicators that God is preparing you for increase. Prosperity, according to the book of Psalms, is not about greed. It is about stewardship, righteousness, and purpose. And when these signs appear, heaven is signaling that abundance is no longer distant. It is being prepared. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. Psalm 112, 1. This verse reveals a truth many overlook. Prosperity in the book of Psalms is inseparable from discipline. Before Psalm 112 ever speaks of wealth and riches filling a house, it speaks of a person who delights in God's ways. One of the clearest signs you are becoming rich is that discipline no longer feels like punishment. It feels natural. You begin to wake up with intention, to manage your time with wisdom, and to walk away from habits that once drained you. This inner order is not self-made. It is God aligning you for increase. Wealth, according to Psalms, is entrusted only to those whose lives can sustain it. When God prepares a person for prosperity, he sharpens their ability to say no. Psalm 1 describes the blessed man as one who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly or sit in destructive places. As wealth approaches, you may notice a growing discomfort with waste, distraction, and unnecessary drama. You start protecting your energy, guarding your focus, and choosing environments that feed growth rather than chaos. This is a sign of elevation. The Psalms show that separation often precedes multiplication because God removes what would leak the blessing before he releases it. Another powerful sign is consistency replacing impulsiveness. Psalm 37 speaks of trusting the Lord and doing good, dwelling in the land and being fed. This is the rhythm of steady provision, not emotional decision-making. You begin sticking to plans, honoring commitments, and building patiently. Even when results are not immediate, you don't quit easily anymore. This endurance is not random. It is evidence that your mindset is maturing. According to the Psalms, endurance attracts favor because it reflects trust, and trust is the soil where prosperity grows. The book of Psalms also reveals that when wealth is near, your relationship with small things changes. Psalm 34 teaches that those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. You begin valuing what you already have. Gratitude replaces complaint. You steward little resources with excellence, whether it is time, skill, or opportunity. This is crucial because God never releases abundance into careless hands. When you start honoring small beginnings, the Psalms show that increase is already in motion, even if it has not yet fully appeared. If discipline is strengthening, distractions are losing their pull, and consistency is becoming part of your nature, then Scripture is speaking clearly. These are not ordinary changes. They are preparation signals. The book of Psalms teaches that before God fills a house with wealth and riches, he builds a person who can carry them. What you are becoming matters more than what you are receiving. And this transformation is proof that prosperity is no longer a question of if, but when. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23, 1. This verse is not poetry alone, it is a declaration of divine economy. When the Psalms say, I shall not want, they are revealing a spiritual condition that precedes material abundance. One of the strongest signs you are becoming rich, according to the book of Psalms, is the disappearance of inner lack. Even before visible wealth arrives, the anxiety-driven hunger to prove yourself fades. You begin to live from sufficiency rather than scarcity. This shift is critical because God does not pour abundance into hearts ruled by fear. Peace is the currency God uses to signal that provision is already assigned to your path. As prosperity draws nearer, peace begins governing your decisions. Psalm 37 instructs us to rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. This patience is not inactivity, it is confidence. You stop forcing outcomes, manipulating situations, or rushing doors that are not ready to open. Instead, you move with discernment. This calm authority over your choices is a sign of growth. The Psalms show that those who wait on the Lord inherit the land, not those who panic. Waiting becomes easier when you know provision is already scheduled. Another sign revealed in the Psalms is emotional stability. Psalm 4 speaks of lying down in peace and sleeping securely because the Lord alone makes us dwell in safety. When wealth is approaching, rest returns to your life. You sleep better, your thoughts slow down. You are no longer mentally exhausted by tomorrow. This rest is not laziness, it is trust. According to the Psalms, God often restores rest before he releases resources because rest reflects faith, and faith is the gateway to increase. The book of Psalms also teaches that peace protects prosperity. Psalm 119 declares, Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. As abundance approaches, offense loses its power over you. You stop reacting to every insult, delay, or misunderstanding. Emotional reactions no longer control your direction. This maturity is essential because offense is one of the fastest ways blessings leak away. The Psalms reveal that peace is not passive. It is defensive strength guarding what God is about to entrust to you. If peace has replaced pressure, rest has replaced restlessness, and patience has replaced panic. then Psalm 23 is no longer just familiar scripture. It is active evidence. God is shepherding you into a season where lack no longer defines your choices. These are not accidental emotions. They are divine confirmations. Prosperity, according to the book of Psalms, always travels with peace. Because when God prepares to bless you, he first quiets your soul to carry what is coming. Let the Lord be magnified, which hath pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. Psalm 35:27. This verse dismantles a deeply held misconception that prosperity must always come through pain. The book of Psalms clearly declares that God takes pleasure in the prosperity of his servant. One of the unmistakable signs you are becoming rich is that your work begins to produce results without crushing strain. You still apply effort, but the resistance lessens. Tasks that once drained you now flow with clarity. This shift is not accidental, it is divine. When God decides to prosper a person, he removes unnecessary struggle, because prosperity that destroys peace is not his design. Psalm 128 reveals that those who fear the Lord will eat the labor of their hands and be blessed in all they do. As wealth approaches, your labor becomes meaningful. You are no longer working blindly or endlessly with little return. Instead, you see progress. Small at first, then consistent. Opportunities begin aligning with your skills, and your efforts begin meeting favor. This is a sign that God is blessing the process, not just the outcome. According to the Psalms, blessed work sustains you instead of consuming you. Another biblical sign is efficiency replacing exhaustion. Psalm 90 asks God to establish the work of our hands. When prosperity is near, you find yourself accomplishing more with less stress. You become sharper, more focused, and more effective. Time seems to stretch. Distractions lose power. This is not merely productivity, it is divine establishment. The Psalms teach that when God establishes your work, results follow without burnout, because the source of strength is no longer only human effort. The book of Psalms also shows that favor begins attracting recognition. Psalm 75 reminds us that promotion comes neither from the east nor the west, but from God. When wealth is approaching, you may notice people begin to notice you without you advertising yourself. Your work speaks, your reliability stands out. Doors open through recommendation rather than competition. This is a powerful sign because God often positions his servants quietly before elevating them visibly. The Psalms reveal that divine promotion arrives without striving. If your work is flowing, your effort is being rewarded, and exhaustion is giving way to effectiveness, then Scripture is confirming what your life is already showing. God is magnifying himself through your progress. These are not random improvements. They are signs of alignment. According to the book of Psalms, when God takes pleasure in your prosperity, he blesses your labor in ways that announce increase before wealth fully appears. I have been young, and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Psalm 37:25. This verse carries generational authority. It is spoken from experience, not theory. One of the strongest signs you are becoming rich, according to the book of Psalms, is when fear of survival begins to leave your life. You are no longer obsessed with worst-case scenarios. Even when challenges arise, there is a quiet assurance that you will not be abandoned. The Psalms reveal that before wealth increases, God establishes security. He removes the terror of what if, replacing it with trust that provision will appear at the right time. As prosperity draws near, your financial life begins to stabilize. Psalm 112 describes the righteous as not being afraid of evil tidings because their heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. This means sudden news no longer shakes you the way it once did. Unexpected expenses, delays, or changes no longer throw you into panic. This emotional steadiness is a sign of preparation. According to the Psalms, God does not release lasting wealth into unstable hearts. Stability is proof that your foundation is being strengthened. Another sign revealed in the Psalms is consistency of provision. Psalm 34 declares that those who seek the Lord shall not lack any good thing. You may notice that needs are met repeatedly, sometimes through expected means, sometimes through unexpected channels. This pattern is important. God trains your faith through repeated provision before releasing greater responsibility. The Psalms show that regular supply is a rehearsal for abundance, teaching you to trust God daily instead of fearing tomorrow. The book of Psalms also reveals that generational thinking begins to form when prosperity is near. Psalm 112 speaks of descendants being mighty in the land. You begin thinking beyond yourself. Your decisions start factoring in family, legacy, and long-term impact. This shift in perspective is not accidental. God does not bless selfish vision with lasting wealth. When your heart expands to include others, it is often because God is preparing to expand your resources as well. If fear has weakened, provision has become consistent, and your mind has shifted from survival to stability, then Psalm 37 is alive in your life. These are sacred signs. God is not only meeting your needs, He is teaching you that you will not be forsaken. According to the book of Psalms, stability is not the end goal, it is the doorway. And when that doorway opens, increase follows with confidence, not fear. For thou, Lord, wilt bless the righteous. With favor wilt thou compass him as with a shield. Psalm 5:12. This psalm reveals a dimension of prosperity many overlook. Favor is protection, access, and advantage wrapped together. One of the strongest signs you are becoming rich, according to the book of Psalms, is when God begins to surround you with favor like a shield. You notice people responding to you differently. Conversations go smoother. Requests receive unexpected approval. Resistance weakens where it once stood firm. This is not manipulation or charisma. It is divine positioning. The Psalms show that when favor increases, wealth is not far behind, because favor opens doors money alone cannot. As favor grows, help begins to appear at the right time. Psalm 121 reminds us that our help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. When prosperity is approaching, assistance comes without humiliation. You no longer have to beg, chase, or explain yourself endlessly. Support shows up through mentors, partners, clients, or opportunities that align naturally with your path. This is a sign that God is orchestrating relationships to support your increase. According to the Psalms, divine help is never late. It arrives exactly when preparation is complete. Another sign of approaching wealth is acceptance without compromise. Psalm 18 declares that God brings us into a broad place because He delights in us. When favor is active, you no longer feel pressured to shrink, pretend, or distort who you are to be accepted. You are valued for your integrity, not just your output. This matters deeply because prosperity rooted in compromise collapses under pressure. The Psalms reveal that God expands those He delights in, and expansion is always a precursor to increase. The book of Psalms also shows that favor attracts protection. Psalm 91 speaks of safety, covering, and deliverance. As wealth approaches, God often shields you from losses you never even see. Certain deals fall through, certain paths close, certain associations fade away, and later you realize they would have cost you greatly. This unseen protection is a powerful sign. According to the Psalms, God guards what He intends to grow. Preservation always precedes multiplication. If doors are opening without force, if help is arriving without humiliation, and if protection is quietly surrounding your decisions, then Psalm 5 is active in your life. Favor is not a small blessing, it is a strategic one. The book of Psalms makes it clear. When God shields you with favor, He is preparing you for responsibilities that require divine backing. Wealth follows favor because favor ensures what you receive can be sustained. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all of they that do his commandments. Psalm 111:10. This psalm reveals a truth that governs all lasting prosperity. Wealth follows wisdom. One of the clearest signs you are becoming rich according to the book of Psalms is the sharpening of your understanding. You begin seeing consequences before they unfold. You recognize patterns earlier. You discern what to pursue and what to avoid. This wisdom is not arrogance or overconfidence. It is reverence. Psalm 111 makes it clear that wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord, meaning a deep respect for God's order. When this reverence grows, decisions improve, and when decisions improve, prosperity follows naturally. As wisdom increases, impulsive behavior fades. Psalm 37 encourages trusting the Lord and committing your way to Him. This commitment changes how you respond to opportunity. You no longer rush simply because something looks profitable. You evaluate timing, integrity, and sustainability. This restraint is a sign of maturity. The Psalms show that wisdom slows you down in the right moments and speeds you up in the right ones. Such balance is rare, and it is often a signal that God is preparing you to manage increase without self-destruction. Another sign revealed in the Psalms is teachability. Psalm 25 speaks of God instructing sinners in the way and teaching the humble his paths. When wealth is near, you become more open to correction, learning, and guidance. Pride weakens. You listen more than you speak. This humility is not weakness, it is capacity. God entrusts greater resources to those willing to learn because teachable minds expand rather than resist. According to the Psalms, humility attracts wisdom, and wisdom attracts provision. The book of Psalms also shows that wisdom protects you from costly mistakes. Psalm 19 describes the commandments of the Lord as warning his servant and bringing great reward. As prosperity approaches, you avoid traps that once seemed appealing. Certain shortcuts lose their shine. You recognize that quick gains often carry long-term losses. This discernment is a powerful sign because wealth that endures is built by avoiding destruction as much as by pursuing growth. The Psalms reveal that wisdom preserves what blessing provides. If your decisions are becoming clearer, your impulses weaker, and your discernment sharper, then Psalm 111 is unfolding in your life. These changes are not accidental, they are preparatory. According to the book of Psalms, God builds wisdom before he builds wealth, because wisdom determines whether wealth will last. When your mind is being refined, your future is being fortified. Increase is no longer dangerous, it is becoming safe. He hath dispersed, he hath given to the poor, his righteousness endureth forever, his horn shall be exalted with honor. Psalm 112:9. This psalm reveals a powerful truth about prosperity that is often misunderstood. Generosity is not the result of wealth. It is one of the signs that wealth is approaching. According to the book of Psalms, when God prepares to increase a person, he expands their heart before he expands their resources. You begin to feel joy in giving, not pressure. You help without fear of loss. You share without calculating what will be left. This shift is significant because God does not entrust abundance to tight and fearful hands. Psalm 112 shows that generosity is evidence of readiness, not recklessness. As prosperity draws nearer, your perspective on money changes. Psalm 24 declares that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. You begin to understand that you are a steward, not an owner. This revelation removes anxiety and replaces it with responsibility. You no longer see money as your security, but as a tool. This mindset is essential because wealth that controls a person destroys them, but wealth that serves purpose multiplies. The Psalms reveal that when stewardship becomes clear, increase becomes safe. Another sign revealed in the Psalms is that giving no longer empties you, it energizes you. Psalm 41 speaks of blessing the one who considers the poor. When wealth is approaching, generosity begins to feel aligned, not forced. You notice that every act of kindness strengthens your peace instead of weakening it. This is not emotional generosity, it is spiritual alignment. According to the Psalms, God watches how a person handles overflow in small measures before releasing greater measures. The book of Psalms also shows that generosity attracts honor. Psalm 112 declares that the generous person's horn will be exalted with honor. This means respect, trust, and credibility increase alongside giving. People begin to value your presence, your word, and your influence. This is important because wealth without honor collapses quickly. The Psalms reveal that God ties honor to generosity so that prosperity is accompanied by dignity, not corruption. If your heart is expanding, your fear of giving is shrinking, and your joy increases when you bless others, then Scripture is confirming something powerful. According to the book of Psalms, generosity is a sign that God trusts you. And when God trusts a person, increase follows naturally. What you are giving now is not draining you, it is qualifying you. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me upon my high places. Psalm 18:33. This psalm reveals that elevation is not only about position, it is about influence. One of the clear signs you are becoming rich, according to the book of Psalms, is that your life begins to affect others without effort. People listen when you speak. They seek your counsel. Your presence carries weight beyond titles or possessions. This is significant because Scripture shows that influence often precedes wealth. God raises a person's voice before he increases their resources, because influence determines how far prosperity will travel beyond the individual. As influence grows, responsibility grows with it. Psalm 78 speaks of God choosing David and guiding him with integrity of heart and skillfulness of hands. When prosperity is near, people begin trusting you with greater responsibilities. Your decisions affect more than just yourself. This is not pressure, it is preparation. The Psalms reveal that God expands influence gradually, ensuring character keeps pace with opportunity. Wealth without responsibility leads to collapse, but wealth paired with influence builds legacy. Another sign described in the Psalms is credibility. Psalm 15 asks who may dwell in God's holy hill, and answers by describing a person who walks uprightly and speaks truth. When wealth is approaching, your integrity becomes visible. Your yes carries weight. Your no is respected. People know where you stand. This credibility is essential because financial increase attracts attention, and attention tests character. The Psalms show that God strengthens credibility before he increases visibility. The book of Psalms also reveals that influence creates protection. Psalm 91 speaks of dwelling in the secret place of the Most High. As your life impacts others, God often deepens his covering over you. You avoid conflicts you never even know existed. Certain attacks never reach you. This is not coincidence, it is preservation. According to the Psalms, God protects those whose lives serve a greater purpose, because what he is building through them must be safeguarded. If your words are carrying weight, your actions are being noticed, and your integrity is becoming visible, then Psalm 18 is unfolding in your life. Elevation has begun. According to the book of Psalms, influence is a sign that God is lifting you to higher ground. And when God elevates a person, provision follows, because higher ground requires greater resources to sustain what God is establishing. A good man showeth favor and lendeth. He will guide his affairs with discretion. Surely he shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. Psalm 112, 5, 6. The book of Psalms ends the conversation on prosperity, where God always intended it to end: legacy. True wealth is not measured only by what you accumulate, but by what remains after you are gone. One of the final signs you are becoming rich, according to the book of Psalms, is when your thinking shifts permanently from personal gain to lasting impact. You begin guiding your affairs with discretion. Your choices are no longer impulsive, they are intentional. This maturity is not learned overnight. It is developed through alignment, discipline, peace, favor, wisdom, generosity, and influence. Psalm 112 reveals that when a person reaches this stage, their prosperity is no longer fragile. As legacy begins to form, stability becomes immovable. Psalm 112 declares that the righteous shall not be moved forever. This does not mean challenges disappear. It means foundations are unshakable. You are no longer easily thrown off course by setbacks or delays. Your confidence is rooted, not reactive. This stability is essential because wealth that endures must be built on permanence, not emotion. The Psalms show that God establishes people deeply before he expands them widely. Another sign revealed in the Psalms is remembrance. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance means your life leaves an imprint. People remember how you lived, not just what you owned. Your values echo beyond your years. This is important because God never intended prosperity to terminate in one lifetime. The book of Psalms ties wealth to continuity, faithfulness extending from one generation to the next. When remembrance becomes part of your vision, God entrusts you with resources that carry weight across time. The Psalms also show that legacy brings peace even in old age. Psalm 92 declares that the righteous still bear fruit in old age and remain fresh and flourishing. This is the final evidence of divine prosperity, strength that does not fade, purpose that does not expire, and fruit that continues long after urgency has passed. This kind of wealth is rare because it is refined. It comes from walking closely with God, not chasing outcomes. According to the Psalms, enduring prosperity is the reward of alignment sustained over time. If your life is becoming intentional, your foundation unshakable, and your vision eternal, then the signs are complete. The book of Psalms has spoken clearly. You are not merely becoming rich, you are becoming established. This is the prosperity God designed. Wealth with wisdom, abundance with peace, and increase with legacy. What God is building in you now will outlive you. And when heaven entrusts a person with that kind of prosperity, it is because the work is finished and the blessing is secure.